Hey, welcome you all attendees. I'm excited to welcome you all here in today's CISSP Masterclass. Cybernous is a leading force in both consulting and training. We have come up with our flagship program called CISSP Success Toolkit, which is an end-to-end CISSP preparation platform. Hey guys, let me tell you that stick around until the end of the webinar. We have an exciting surprise waiting for you guys. I know exactly what you are going through on this journey. Many of you might be struggling with CISSP preparation due to these reasons. Like you started your CISSP preparation, but you are not sure what is actually you need to learn for passing the CISSP exam. You might have gone through heavyweight books and still not getting the confidence to pass the exam. So let's get started. Since the CISSP curriculum is lengthy, so our scope of coverage will be objective wise. Today we are going to cover objective number 1.1, 1.2 and 1.3 from domain 1. And Manoj sir will help us understand what we need to understand about these objectives from exam perspective, understand the kind of questions which come in the CISSP exam, and how to think like a CISSP while answering these questions. So let's start with objective number 1.1 and welcome Manoj sir to this masterclass.
Thank you, ma'am, for having me here. And hi, everybody, all the participants. Good morning, good afternoon, as per your time zones. And let's get started with the objective number 1.1. But before I start talking about objectives and those things, I think this is very important for us to understand. The best way to pass CISSP is just not to straightway dive into this. It is very important for everybody to understand what actually is ISC2 expecting you to know. That is why those particular statements related to these objectives are very, very important to understand. Most of the people, they try to get into the academic mode and they start taking everything as learning and then remembering and memorizing and all of it. Actually, that's not the focus. CISSP is at all not a exam which is based on memorization. It is all about understanding the concept in depth. And for that, if you take the right approach to CISSP, it becomes a lot of easy for you to prepare and pass the CISSP exam in your first attempt. So I think with that said, let's dive into the first concept here, and I will take you onto my tab for the same. So the first objective talks about ethics. There are three things we need to understand. First, we need to understand what is ethics. And then there is also a mention of professional ethics. And professional ethics is the ethics which is kind of followed up by any professional. And let it be any profession as well. For example, a doctor need to have ethics related to their own industry. Similarly, lawyers, when they talk to their client, they do not disclose their client information. They don't make undue, you can say, use of that particular information as well. And the same thing goes in for cybersecurity professionals as well. You, me, and everybody, we are cybersecurity professionals. And we need to make sure that we always follow the ethics, right? What is basically ethics? It is the, you can say, a particular belief or the behavior of a particular person, even if that particular person is not under any kind of monitoring as well, because this is something which is coming from the internal of a particular person, right? So that is all what is professional ethics you should know. The very next topic is, yeah, that's fine. I have a multi national company, and my offices are there in multiple part of the world. And there are people as my employees, contractors, and partners who are from different part of the globe. All these people may have different ethics as per the society they are coming from, as per the legal standard they are coming from, and so on. So it is very important for any organization to lay down something called as organizational ethics. I think you all can relate to it because in your organization as well, there might be a code of conduct which your organization might have decided, right? So that's about the professional ethics and organizational ethics. Now, from the exam perspective, you also need to know what is the primary purpose of, you can say, all these ethics, because this not only means the internal integrity as well, external integrity of the company as well, and the reputation and the other people, other things also get enhanced, and people more like to work in companies which are more ethical in nature, isn't it? So that's how, that is ethics. The next topic I want you to understand, and it's very important from the exam perspective, is ISC2 Code of Ethics. So ISC2 actually is the organization who hosts the CISSP certification, and they are very keen into this, ethics, and that is why you see this is the first part of the entire thing, right? Now, ISC2 and other organization also, they very well understand, because people are coming from different part of the globe and all of it. There might be different factors which may affect the, you can say, ethics of a particular person. So the ethics is actually governed by the cultural and the social norms in which you have been brought up, what is your values and belief, and the kind of practices you follow, you get influenced by your past and all these kind of stuff. So that is one major factor when it comes to cultural changes. At the same time, person also have their own personal values and belief. That also is a guiding factor. And finally, in a country, there might be a legal and regulatory framework which is more strict. So people have better ethics. In some, that is not the case. So people don't have that. So there are various factors which can affect, ethics. And for that, you need to now dive into understanding ISC2 Code of Ethics, irrespective of whichever society you are coming from, whichever country you are coming from. It actually applies to all CISSP professionals. There are 4 ethics, and ethics number 1 is focused on the social good of the society. What does it mean? The statement says protect society, the common good, necessary public trust and confidence, and the infrastructure you are working upon. So, as a cybersecurity professional, you always should work in the interest of the society and do not get involved into anything which is not good. Even if you're working for an employer and they are not ethical, their actions are going against the society, you need to take an action. There should not be any element of ignorance. So that's your ethics number 1. The second canon, because these ethics are also called as canons as well. So the canon number 2, it says act on honestly, honorably, justly, responsibly, and legally. So as a cybersecurity professional, it governs your professional ethics. And it says you have to be honorable to others, you have to be honest for anybody you are working with, you have to be justly, for example, you are involved into some kind of investigation. As an investigation, you should not get yourself impacted by those things. You should not be very detrimental about something. Your work is to just do the investigation and bring out the facts. So that is why they have used the word justly. Then responsibly, you have to take the responsibility of something. It is good or bad, you should be ready to take the responsibility. And as well, finally, all your actions should be legally correct. So that actually governs your professional ethics. The third ethics, which is also kind of very, very important, and it is the ethics number 3 in ISC Code of Ethics. It says provide diligent and competent services to your principals. Now, principal means the employers for whom you are actually working. So you need to be always in a mindset of performing the due diligence and letting the management know if something is going bad. And you should try to put in your skill and knowledge to make sure you give competent services to your employer. And that was related to the employer. The fourth ethics, which is more of advance and protect the profession, that means you need to keep learning and be an ambassador of security. So these are the major 4 ethics, and you will definitely be tested on this in some form or the other in your CISSP exam. Now, here is a golden tip for you guys. Let's say there is a scenario in the exam and they are talking about a particular scenario, and that is a breach of, let's say, 2 code of ethics. Let's say ethics number 1 and ethics number, let's say, 3. What should be your takeaway in that particular case? So please understand that these code of ethics are put up into some form of, you can say, priority. So number 1 has to be given more priority than number 2, 3, and 4. And accordingly, you can take a decision on that in the exam. So I think these are the major things which you need to understand. And let's now also do some practice on the questions. So I have some good questions for you I have brought up, but before that, I want to give you a framework. You have to promise me that you are going to follow and practice this framework throughout your entire CISSP preparation. Why? Because it is very important. I have myself taught thousands of CISSPs, and I know what is the best way to answer a question. So first thing is, you need to read the question carefully. If it is a small question, go ahead and read it straight away, go to options, find the best one and answer it as per these 6 steps. And in some cases, there might be some lengthy questions as well. And in that case, there has to be different approach. Otherwise, you will land up wasting your time. So what is more important is, if there is a lengthy question, I request you go and read the last statement first in the question and then go through the option once. It will hardly take 10 to 15 seconds for you. This will give you a very good idea of what the question is actually asking for. Because many times it happens in the exam, the time is less and people start taking the question from the top. By the time they are coming down, they are forgetting actually where they are. So it is very important. For a lengthy question, read the last line, go to options, then start reading the question. Believe me, this particular strategy really works. So that is your step number 1. Then you need to also identify keywords very carefully. There might be some keywords which talks about a problem statement, which talks about a what to say a kind of limitation, and then they might also be using some kind of you can say influential keywords, like for example primary, then most, then best, right? If you need to understand more about these, what does these keyword mean and how you should take in the exam, my team is going to put up a you can say link to my Udemy to my YouTube channel, and I have created an entire series of 2 webinars. You must go through this because that will be very instrumental in your CISSP exam. The third option is, you always, whenever you are going to select the answers, always follow the elimination method, because that's a proven method which always works. And let's say even after that, you are stuck with 2 options, right? Then you need to relook on these keywords and then analyze each one of them in a much more comprehensive way, or you can say more from a question perspective, right? From a leadership perspective, because there are questions where you will find like 2 options are correct, and it can be very, very frustrating at times. So that's also very, very important. Then you need to select the answer, obviously. And finally, after you answer, just have a quick glance. I am not saying change your answer, just have a quick glance. I have answered this. Is this in line with the keywords and the other thing in the question? Then only proceed further. So I think this is a golden framework, guys. You all should follow and start practicing it from today. Having said that, let me dive into taking some questions with you. So let's do some exam practice. And here is your question number 1. You can take 30 seconds, but in the interest of time, let me go and explain this question right away. A cybersecurity analyst at a software development firm has developed a sophisticated malware that simulate advanced persistent threat attacks. The analyst intention is to use the malware in a controlled lab environment to train the company incident response team and to enhance their detection capabilities against real-world threats. Which of the following best describe the ethical implication of the analyst action and why? Now, first thing, this question is lengthy, quite a wordful, right? Quite a mouthful, I would say. So I would recommend you actually taking a different approach for this. In this question, you should read the last line of the question, then go through the option. You will have a better idea what actually the question is finally asking, and then start reading the question. This will save a lot of your time. Now coming back on the question, there are four options and they have given what? There are certain things they have mentioned to you. They have said you are making a sophisticated malware which gives a negative sense, and many of you might feel, okay, it's a malware, definitely it is not as per ethics, nobody should create malwares, right? But at the same time they also say the intention is to use the malware in a controlled lab environment to train the employees incident response team. They are taking proper due care to also make sure that this apt is not kind of leaked out. So these are the pointers on which you should work. And for this, in the interest of time, I will not go and talk about all the options, but let's quickly touch upon that. D says the behavior is not ethical because such a tool could be leaked on the internet very well, but the question is also hinting on that there is due care which is kind of taken care of. So you can eliminate this option. The next one is the behavior is not ethical because creating any kind of virus is bad. Obviously, it is bad, but you also have to see the intent, and also you have to be mindful of what they are actually exercising to protect it. So I don't think this also makes sense. It gives a negative sense. The option number B says the behavior is ethical because any experienced programmer would create such a tool. That's true. It is kind of anybody can create these kind of tool, but does not mean that the action will be ethical. We are talking about a specific use case in the question. So this is also where we can eliminate this. Finally, we land up on the right answer, which says the behavior is ethical because the tool will be used to create better virus scanners, right? Or better, you can say, training your incident response team, which makes much more sense as compared to the other options. So that is where, because they are asking for the best, and that is where we found the best. So this is your answer. I hope this gives you a good insight into how to answer these kind of questions. Let's try out. Let me challenge you with another question as well. So the question says, which of the following is the primary driver for implementing ethics training and enforcement of ethical policies within an organization? It says different things, right? And all are applicable, isn't it? But what they are asking for, they are actually asking for something as a primary driver for implementing ethics training. It is kind of mandatory nowadays, and every company is implementing because there is a primary purpose behind the entire thing. So let's see these options. Option number D says it enhances teamwork and collaboration among employees. Obviously, good ethics will do that, but is that the primary purpose? May not be. Let's go and see other options. It reduces employees turnover by fostering a positive work environment. Again, very positive. In fact, a good ethical company, people are working in a more collaborative way, people are ready to come to work and all of it. But is that the primary function? Because we are trying to find out the primary drivers for it. I think that's important, but not as important. Let's go and see the option number B. It says it safeguards the organization integrity and public trust. I think that is the thing to go. If your employees are not ethical, integrity is not there in the people and the processes and the technology, then obviously your public trust will also go down. So the broad level kind of objective of having the entire ethics is to make sure your internal integrity, external integrity is always maintained. Option number A says it ensures compliance with internal organizational processes. So that is more about the compliance. Having ethics will also help it, but we are trying to find the primary thing. So you understood, I think, in this question, what is the relevance of having the word primary? I think I have challenged you enough, guys. And back to you, Pratima ma'am. I think it is time for us to move to objective number 1.2.
Yeah, sure. And thank you so much, Manoj sir, for such a great insight. And let's move on to our objective number 1.2, which is about understand and apply security concepts. So now, what is the big picture which ISC Square, wants professionals to focus on? Can you please elaborate on that too?
That's very much right, ma'am. Because these objective number 1.1 and 1.2, all these objectives are much focused on some fundamentals, right? And if the fundamentals itself is not right, then it may not lead anywhere. We have often spoken about CIA triad in the entire when we talk about this objective, but there are two more elements which you need to understand. And let me again take you back to my tab so that I can explain you better. So let me switch over to the tab. So here are the 5 pillars of security we all should know, which includes confidentiality, integrity, availability, authenticity, and non-repudiation. Now, these are the 5 factors. Now, as part of your certified in cybersecurity exam as well as part of your SSCP exam as well, you all know, right, what is this? But why it is there in CISSP? Because this is more fundamental and this is more advanced. So you need to know a little bit more about it. When we say confidentiality, I think all of you know it is very simple. An unauthorized party should not have access to the data or access to the information, access to the system, and so on, right? But what you need to know from the ISC2 perspective is, in industry, we use different keywords sometimes for the same thing. Sometimes may call confidentiality as sensitivity, concealment. Somebody may also say discretion. Somebody may also call it out by the word privacy as well. Sometimes we use seclusion and sometimes we use obfuscation. So these are some of the words which are exactly, you can say, component of confidentiality, because any of them is impacted, there will be loss of confidentiality. For example, you try to obscure your code, obfuscate your code, and somebody get through it. That's a loss of confidentiality, right? You try to hide something. For example, you are going out, you put a big lock on your door, and then the key is what you are putting on the doormat, and you are thinking nobody will come to know about it. That is also breach of confidentiality, right? Similarly, we try to conceal things, we try to hide sensitive information, all of it. So those keywords as well, you should also be maintaining. Now, here is another piece of advice from me to all of you. I have seen people creating notes which are very, very in depth, and they land up writing a notes of, let's say, 500 pages. Again, you're writing another book, man. It doesn't help at all. So what I recommend you all to do whenever you are preparing for CISSP, always try to make tables, very short and concise tables, and only write the keywords. CISSP is not a memorization exam. It is more of keywords, and how this keyword will help you in the exam is very simple. One good thing is in the exam that you get 4 options. So options are there in front of you. You don't need to recall and memorize and put whatever you know. That is not required. So one very good thing is options are there. The only thing is when you trigger the right keyword in that particular option, there has to be a mind connection which is going on. And that is why I am saying when you make notes, always make sure that you are writing those keywords. This will actually trigger your mind at the time and you will be able to relate to the right option. So that's very important. Okay, now Gyan in one side, let me come back on integrity again. When you need to think about integrity, we all know unauthorized modification of information or the system is called as integrity problem. But at the same time, I want you to think this from a accuracy perspective, relevancy perspective as well, and completeness perspective as well. So these are some more keywords which you should tie up with integrity. Okay, then let's also dive in about availability, and let's talk about little on the advanced side. Availability is something that the system or the information is actually available to you when it is required, as simple as that. But there can be multiple factors to this. For example, if the information is available to you but it is not usable, will that be any help? Not at all, right? Similarly, when it comes to timeliness, information is available to you, but it is not available to you in a timely fashion. Then what do you do? End of the day, it is loss of availability itself, right? So it is not just about usability, it is also timeliness and also accessibility as well. You should be able to access the information in the way you want, in the right format you are able to consume it. So that's very, very important. Then let's also talk about another important aspect which is called as authenticity. Now, why at all we need authenticity? We need authenticity. For example, you are actually trying to connect with Google server or maybe with your bank. In that way, you need to know that I am really connecting with the right server. I am really connecting with the right system, isn't it? And at the same time, there is no tampering as well. No tampering of information is also there. And these are the kind of factors which comes under authenticity. Authenticity is of two type. One is origin authenticity, one is destination authenticity, isn't it? So kind of, you need to understand authenticity. You are receiving a message. Is the message authentic or not? Is the data authentic or not? Or I am dealing with the user, a right user on the other end. Sometimes the same problem happens with softwares as well. You downloaded a software, but how authentic it is, right? So authenticity actually comes with major two factors. One thing is there has to be some level of identification, or you can say authentication, which has to happen, and it should not be tampered with. And at the same time, you should be able to have a element of known repudiation. Now let's also talk about known repudiation, which is our item number 5th in the list. Known repudiation is all about that somebody who has asked you to do certain action, and a later point of time that particular person should not be able to repudiate or deny their own actions. Simple as that. And known repudiation is achieved by multiple ways. We have logs created, we have monitoring, all of those kind of stuff as well. And at the same time, known repudiation is also achieved through digital signatures and those kind of stuff. So what I want you to think is, I have given you a base here. You should build up on top of it. Also understand, you should be able to clearly understand what are the threats to each element and what are the major controls we have and where actually they play the role. Those are the kind of questions you will get in the exam. So that's about all these kind of things. Let me also tell you something more from the exam perspective. We often talk about CIA, and it's very common topic, right? And many people feel, okay, CIA is kind of common across the board. Actually not. Actually, it's not. Every company has a different CIA requirement based on the industry or the base of kind of business they are doing, or based the kind of asset and data they are handling. They might be serving their clients and all of it. So as a security leader, you have to understand that the CIA requirements are different for different companies, and that is why the security controls will also be different for different companies. So that is the major thing. And by studying this CIA requirement, end of the day, you are able to make your scoping document, which also talks about what controls you need to have. Okay. And when it comes to data, obviously, you can say when we talk about confidentiality and there is a talk of data security, encryption is the best control and the last line of defense when it comes to data, right? So I think those are the kind of things you need to understand from this objective. Let's now challenge you with some questions at the same time. Ready for it? So let's go to our question number 1. Okay, so in the interest of time, let me start. By the time, you can answer this question on the chat. Which of the following represents the greatest risk to data confidentiality? So they are talking about greatest risk. That is the keyword number 1. And the second keyword is confidentiality. Now, it says network redundancies are not implemented. I think that's more about availability part, right? Security training, awareness training is not completed. I think that's a control which actually not only contributes towards availability, it also contributes towards confidentiality and integrity as well, right? So may not be the right choice for us because we are searching something which is directly tying up with the confidentiality part, isn't it? We go to the option number 3, which says backup tapes are generated unencrypted. I told you in my previous just few moments back, right? The best control for data security and the final line of defense is always encryption. And encryption is a confidentiality control, right? You should know that. And that is why I would say this, I am going to go bullish on this option. But let's also see why option number D is there and what does it mean? User have administrative privileges. Yes, if people have administrative privileges, then what? We need to have administrative privileges, right? Yes, unauthorized use of the administrative privilege and giving more authorization than required is a problem. But this option is not hinting on that. This says user have administrative privileges. Yes, in case, even if that is the case, what will happen? This will not only impact the confidentiality part. This can also, people can go and modify data, people can do unauthorized changes, and that is where system can be down. It can also impact availability as well. So that is why we also rule it out. This is the kind of elimination method you should always follow in the exam and go to the best option. So there is a reasoning behind each and every option which is given to you. I hope this gives you a good understanding. Let me challenge you with one more question, right? Let's go through and take your time, 30 seconds time to answer this particular question. In the interest of time, just to keep sure this webinar, this masterclass remains within a time frame, I am going to cover it. To guarantee the authenticity of a digital message, which of the following elements are necessary, right? Authenticity of digital messages. That's the key word here, isn't it? Let's go and talk about it. And this time we'll take it from the bottom. First, let's analyze the option number D. It says data integrity and proof of delivery. Data integrity is definitely one aspect of authentic, because if a particular message has been tampered, obviously it cannot be believed, you cannot have the trust, right? That's right, makes sense. But on the other side, proof of delivery. So proof of delivery actually comes under non-repudiation, isn't it? That doesn't come under authenticity. So I think that's a valid reason to go and eliminate this option. The second one, it says identity verification. I think very important. The first thing you should be able to authenticate. Your identity has to be authorized, isn't it? And then there is an element of non-repudiation as well, because there are logs and everything also created. I think this is a very strong contender, but still we are not going to take our decision. We are still going to be patient and go through other options. The second option says data confidentiality and integrity. They are separate subjects, right? That's not completely under authenticity. So I am going to simply rule it out. It doesn't make much of sense to me. Option number A says encryption and user authentication. And when it says encryption and user authentication, so encryption is confidentiality and user authentication, yes, that is part of the, you can say, your authenticity. But again, as a whole statement, this is also wrong. I see only this is the option which actually carries the more weightage compared to the other one. And that is why my answer in this particular case is going to be C. So I hope you will be able to replicate the way and the thought process I am putting in for answering a CISSP question. With that said, let me give you some more practice and some more challenge. Take your time to answer this question, and I am going to explain you after that. The question says, which of the following elements must be balanced to effectively implement a defense in depth strategy in an organization? Very, very interesting question, this one. The first option says, no, before that, let's try to understand a little bit about defense in depth. What is defense in depth? It's kind of an onion model. What is an onion model? You keep piling the outer layer and the inner layer keep coming. Same way you have to implement security controls in a serial way when you are going to protect your information. And one more important thing, and that is where you will be tested all the time, is these kind of controls, right, should not have the similar kind of control. For example, if I say I am going to lock something down under 7 doors, and those locks are of the same model and make, will it help? No. You need to have different type of controls which can actually require attacker to bring in more skill set and more work effort to break your cybersecurity posture or your controls, right? So that is kind of very, very important. Let's now understand these options. The A option says risk management, compliance, and governance. Guys, don't you feel we are talking about defense in depth? Obviously, we are going to take care of all these kind of stuff, but this is talking on a very high level, and this is more about the governance part. Only governance is not what security is. Governance is on top of the entire information security program so that you are able to manage it well. Risk management is one of the inbuilt component of the same thing, and this is more about the governance part. So I don't find it so much interesting. The second option says security policies, which again hints towards security governance. Access control and encryption is more of a control. Are there only two controls in your defense in depth? No. It should be a mix of people, process, and technology. And that is what you see as an option number C. It is not about having technical control all the time. There might be admin control or management control at the same time, and there might be some physical control also at the same time. So personal training is more of a people control. Security technology is more of a technical control, and process is more of a administrative control. What's good about that? I think sometimes you have to have some diplomacy also while answering these kind of questions. This is more of a management question, and they want to understand your horizon of thought process. How the defense in depth is all about. You need to have people, process, and technology all aligned in a way which is actually structured as per defense in depth. The last option talks about network security, application security, endpoint security. That's not everything, right? In your company, there might be different systems and the different kind of technology you are using. You cannot just implement network security, application, and endpoint security to make it all. I think the more diplomatic answer here is C, and that is why C is my best choice for this particular question. I hope you are able to replicate well, guys. I think we practiced enough. So back to you, Fatima ma'am.
Amazing. You have really given a good insight about objective number 1.2. And I'm very curious to know about the CISSP Success Toolkit. Would you please like to provide some information about that too?
Sure, ma'am. Sure. Actually, I have been training for CISSP for the last 10 years, right? And I have seen a lot of pain point. There was a time where people reach out to me and they say, sir, I have taken a boot camp, still I failed. I have gone through Sean Harris 2 times, or maybe other CBK 2 times, all these kind of heavyweight books, right? But still people fail CISSP. You know what is the major reason behind that? The reason is very, very simple. Understanding CISSP content is one thing, and you need to also develop some kind of test taking capabilities as well, so that when you go to the real CISSP exam, you don't feel like, man, I went through a very smooth journey throughout my CISSP. I understood all the concept and everything, but it's a very bumpy ride in the next 3 months, in the 3 hours in the CISSP exam. So CISSP exam is definitely going to give you those bumps. And if you're not ready, you are just plainly going and understanding the content, or the training, other kind of trainings which only focus about explaining you the concepts. I don't think that's enough for your CISSP success. So that is the reason why at all I came up with this fantastic program, and it is my hard work for the last 8 to 10 years I have been working on. I have tried to make an ecosystem, and I tried to create an entire process of 100 days where everything is driven by passion. The trainer is passion. I don't myself call as a trainer, to be very honest. I prefer myself to be called as a CISSP specialist and a coach. There's a difference between a trainer and a coach. A trainer just delivers you something, and then you go away, you go your way, trainer goes its own way. That's not how CISSP success is achieved. CISSP success is only achievable if you have somebody who is at the back of you to always keep you mentoring, to keep you motivated, to help you with all the concepts and everything. And not only that, exam practice as well. So that is where, I will take you again to my tab. This is something called as a I used to call it, right? Give me 100 days, I will get you CISSP certified. The only thing you need to do is to enroll in the program, have complete belief in me, and believe me, thousands of people have already got certified by following this plan. We are currently into the batch number 37, and it is working wonders for us, right? You can talk to any of the, our students, and they will talk very, very high about it, because there is a real passion in the entire stuff. I call it as 4x depth. This entire program is 4x depth. Why 4x? Let's say you go with any kind of other training. What will happen? 40 hours of training or 50 hours of training? This entire program is having, we are giving you 70 plus hours of my videos, which are very well structured videos, and there is a complete plan. We are not going to throw everything on you at once. You have to go in a very, very structured way, including your revision days, and everything has been taken care of in the plan. The second thing is, apart from this 70 hours, you are going to spend some 30 plus hours with me, where we will be just talking about concepts and the theories and your doubts and very, very practical real life things. And the most important, we have 60 plus hours of live exam practice. Nobody actually is taking up this initiative in this universe right now, because I understand the pain. People fail even after going through all of it, because they don't have they have the skill, they understand the concept and everything, but they actually don't understand how to tackle the CISSP question. I used to call it, many questions are more of a English questions. You need to catch and get yourself accustomed to that English, and that is exactly what we do in our 15 weeks program. Every weekend we are spending 4 hours. You are just not putting off your camera and just relaxing and hearing to a trainer. No, 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 no. I am your coach. I will make you to do the hard work, and I am there to give you the guidance. So you never can lose weight if you feel that you go to gym and just put up your hands like this, and your trainer start doing all the exercises. Your trainer will lose weight, not you. So that is very important, because these are the gym sessions. We call them as the CISSP gym sessions. That is where everybody is on the video. You are there with a pen and pencil and everything. You are giving all the answers on the chat, and then I explain you my process of answering the same question. So over a period of time, what I have observed, by the time you go 4 weeks, 5 weeks into the entire stuff, you develop a habit of answering the right question. You develop a habit of I would say sensing the right question, even if you don't know the concept. That is the beauty of this particular program. Apart from this, the entire 100 days plan is created on a three-headed approach. Now, what is the three-headed approach? Very simple. Many people actually, first they will read the content, they will go through the domains, then they start practicing question. No, Baba, it doesn't happen that way. Very, very simple. You have to take a three-headed approach, where you have to go through my videos on the portal. You have to go through the notes, concise notes, which are there as part of the program. We call it as my smart book. I am going to publish my book very, very shortly. And the third important factor is the quiz. Every day you have to follow these three things and related to the same concept. So that's a great thing we have. I think nobody could ever do it. We have done this approach, and it works wonders. Then and there itself, your theory, your questions, your core concepts, and everything is kind of clear. Then this entire program also comes up with inbuilt notes. You don't have to read any of the heavyweight books, as I told. No need of going through heavyweight. I know, guys, the pressure and the kind of challenge with the corporate people. We at work have to deliver our best. And by the side, if you are preparing for CISSP, that becomes very, very clumsy. And if somebody asks you to go with a 1,000-page book, it's almost very, very tough ride, right? So that is why you have to read only what is required you from the exam perspective. Very, very concise notes, very, very concise tables, keywords, and those kind of stuff. Then this entire program also comes up with 950 core concept. No, this is entire Udemy course from me, which is also available on Udemy. And you can see almost 6,000 students have already enrolled, and I am rating at a rating of 4.8 there. So you can understand there's a lot of value in these kind of things. In today's webinar, you are in a very good lucky day. You are going to get a 90% discount on all these courses at the end of the webinar. I'm going to give you that coupon. I'm going to leave the that particular thing in the chat. But if you enroll into the entire CST plan, you don't have to pay a single rupee for that. It's completely part of the package. You don't have to spend separately on that. And you know what, guys? The last thing is the mentorship. CISSP is a bumpy ride, and You need somebody who can keep you motivated, who can keep you on track, who can give you a particular ecosystem. In my program, we also have a one-to-one tracking as well. Every day you update your progress and I am going to track you. If you are not putting up your best effort, I am going to call you. So also on the dashboard, you can book a call with your mentor at any point of time. So that's a great thing which we have. Okay, so if you're tired of wasting time and countless hours going through multiple books and boot camps, I think this is the best choice for you. So that's about the program, ma'am.
Great, and that is really awesome. So let's now come on to our last objective, which is very crucial, objective number 1.3. And this is where people have most of their difficulties, especially those professionals, who have a technical mindset and they often are not able to understand the leadership part of it. So, sir, what is the right mindset for this objective?
Yeah, I think very well said, ma'am. Objective number 1.1 and 1.2 is fundamental, but your real journey as a security leader starts from the objective number 1.3. And in 1.3, it is very important for you to understand few things. And let me again take you on the tab. So few things. You need to understand the, you can say the broader picture of the entire cybersecurity. And what is that? Number one, you can say security is a top-down approach. Security starts from the leadership. Security is not a bottom-up approach. That's the one of the core concepts you should always think. Then it is the responsibility of the top management also to make sure, and you guys, like you have to get into a shoes of a CISO who has recently been hired by a company, and let's say you have nothing in place. And if there is something, you need to know all this to mature it further, right? So that is the right mindset to get into this objective. And one of the things which you have to be always very careful is security should align with business objective. It should not become a hindrance, right? Security always has to support the business. The only difference is sometimes you will get that roadblock if business wanting to do something and security says no, that can become a bottleneck. So what I am saying is not to ignore security at all, but as a security guy, your responsibility is to make sure that you're coming up with alternate secure ways to do the same thing. And that is how you can best align in security. The second concept here is when you say alignment, you also need to understand that every company must have a vision. And from the vision, because vision is your aspiration as a business, right? Then comes your mission, which talks about what you do to achieve your aspiration. And then from this, the goals are driven. The business goals are actually driven. The best way is when your executive management comes up with these kind of goals, which they create for their business, every department should drive their goals from these central goals. And similarly, the same thing happens in security as well. So you have to drive your goals from all this. And then you need to create objectives, which are again very time bound and measurable all the time. And that is where all your activities which you do should be in line with everything. So you can see an alignment from bottom to top. Even you might also be going with, let's say, OKRs, filing up your OKRs at the end of the day. Why we do that? Because all your actions and the aspirations and the thought process is actually aligned with the goals and objective of the company. So that is a very, very good framework to understand. Apart from this, this objective also talks about two important terms, which is due care and due diligence, right? Now, many people get stuck up just in between these two terms because there's a lot of confusion over internet about these two terms. Let me explain you in the best simple format. As a mother, right? As a mother, it is mother responsibility completely end to end to take care of the child. So whatever a prudent mother can do, all those actions are called as due care. Similarly, as a company, what is all prudent actions you are supposed to do comes under due care. At the same time, let's say mother is responsible for the kid. But at some point of time, let's say mother has to take the kid to the school. You need to find the best school. So what the mother will do? She will directly go and admit the child in there. No, right? You are going to do research. You are going to call people. You are going to ask people. You are going to check the reviews. You may also have a physical visit to the school before you take this critical decision. So all the research, all the gap assessment, all those kind of data collection, analysis, what we do in the back end to take a critical security decision is what is called as due diligence. Due diligence and due care is not one time effort, it's a continuous effort. You always have to keep doing it and don't see them as different components. Due care is more of a legal perspective. Let's say your data is breached, then the court will be asking what due diligence you have in due care you have in place. But to do due care and to maintain this due care, you also need due diligence as well on the right way. So that is something which you need to understand in the very, very simplest format. So that was another thing. Companies also go with organizational processes as well. For example, your company has acquired another company, your company got merged with another company, and so on. So these kind of organization level things always keep on happening. But why at all we are discussing this in CISSP? It is because whenever two entities are coming together, or two entities are breaking down as part of divestiture or getting merged, the infrastructure is different, their security posture is different, their security software subscription is different, their culture is different, and there can be a lot of risk when these companies come together. So you need to have a process. Normally we call it as merger and acquisition process, which should be a very dedicated function as part of your entire governance. When you are going to set up the governance, that's also you need to think. So governance is all about bringing all these kind of stuff together, right? Now, governance is end of the day, there has to be a proper framework by means of which you are able to make sure that all the people who are working in cybersecurity or information security, they know what to do and how to do. And also, security leadership should always have a good oversight of the entire plan. You should also be able to do the maturity assessment of those things, right? So that all comes part of your governance. There are multiple factors of governance. For example, first thing is leadership. Your leadership should support cybersecurity or information security all the time. It is just not about being the ambassador, it is also about giving the funds and resources to the security team, which oftentimes I see a problem, right? Next thing is roles and responsibility. You need to make sure that roles and responsibilities is very well defined. You might have observed in your own companies as well. Every year they keep changing the org structure and everything. There's a reason for it. Why? Because right people should report to the right peoples all the time, and right is talent at the right level. Also, you need to make sure there is a separation of duties which is kind of taken care of, because a critical function, sometimes if a person has end-to-end control of it, then there are more chances of fraud. That is why we divide it into multiple parts, or we assign different responsibility to different team members, different teams, or in some cases different companies as well, right? There is also an element of independency as well. There are certain roles which you need to take care of where independency must be taken care of. You cannot have an auditor reporting to the auditee by itself. That's a breach of this entire rule. So that is what roles and responsibility. Number three, you should also be having a complete framework of policies and everything. Your company is a collection of people. People come from different background, they come with different understanding, they come with different skill set, they have different objectives. How you're going to make all of them aligned without having a central document with you? So you need to lay down a framework of policies and you can say supporting standards, guidelines, and all these kind of stuff. So that is how you look like governance in a particular company. Then there has to be a close integration with risk management as well, right? Risk management is also very important. Risk management and security cannot be different. I would say, to the extent saying, the information security itself is a function of risk management. We are here, you are here, I am here just because there is risk, and we are all mitigating the risk, isn't it? Security team, or you can say the top management or the governance guy, as a governance guy, you should have a good oversight of security as well. And that is where we bring in a scorecard, defining KPIs and those kind of stuff as well. And finally, you need to be very, very considerate about compliance as well. You need to make sure you are compliant with all regulatory standards, legal standards, client requirements, your own business compliance requirement, standard specific requirement, all of it. So these are the different elements which you can see. If you have all of them, that can say you have a good security posture, or you can say you can have a good security governance end of the day. Also, when you decide about your requirement, at some point of time, you have to go and pick up some controls, right? You have to take some guidance for that. So there are some very well established frameworks. Some are on the enterprise level. For example, COSO, there is COBIT, then there is ITIL, there is Jackman framework, all of it. What is more focus for you is the security framework, right? ISO 27000 series, ISO 27001, NIST Cybersecurity Framework, PCI-DSS, then SAPSA, and I would say the last item here is your FedRAMP. So you need to understand these frameworks a little bit. I'm not saying you become a champion of that. At least understand them from a high level. For example, when we talk about ISO 27001, you should be able to understand, okay, what is a risk register? What is a statement of applicability? And how this entire ISO 27001 is kind of on a high level certification and recertification cycle actually works. And where you go and implement PCI-DSS. What is the scope of PCI-DSS? What is the scope of HIPAA? A little bit about this. What I want you to focus also on, which kind of framework you are going to apply. So the framework actually is decided by the kind of industry you are in, the kind of infrastructure you are in, and the kind of applicable standards, industry standard, which actually works on you. So that is why picking a right framework is very, very important. In many cases, companies go with multiple frameworks as well. And in that case, there might be some overlapping of controls here, right? So it is always better that you have a control mapping, because having a control mapping will not only help you to do less work, it will also reduce your costing as well. And then there are some maturity framework as well, because end of the day, the leadership is going to talk about, I have invested this much in security. What is the maturity level? So that is where we also need to understand CMMI as well, which is a fantastic framework for checking the maturity level. There are 5 levels into this, which we will talk about in some other video. So that was it from the concept perspective. Let me give you some challenge now and practice some questions. So here is question number 1. A company has recently appointed a CISO to oversee its cybersecurity effort. Although the CISO has a skilled team, several crucial elements are missing for a robust security posture. Among the various security initiatives that need attention, which of the following should the CISO prioritize first to build a strong security foundation? See, guys, what is the most important thing? As a CISO, he is going to set up the security posture, right? In this particular case, sorry about that. Sorry. Okay. So let's go through this. Now, before you go and set up, you can go through these options, or we can spend some more time. I can give the same analysis as I did for the previous question. But in the interest of time, I'm just simply telling you, there is a keyword in this question which talks about first, right? First, it is the keyword here. Which action should be taken first? Establish a formal information security governance framework. I think this is good, but this is what you intend, isn't it? But that will come at a later stage. Something beyond that, before that also is being done. Conduct a thorough review of employee access and control permission. I think this is part of the operations, not setting up your security governance. This is not what CISO will just do day to day. Implementing a mandatory cybersecurity training program. I think this is also part of an ongoing activity to make sure people are aware. But if you see the option number D, perform a holistic risk assessment to understand the organization and applicable risk. If you don't understand, What is my size? What kind of controls we need? What is my control requirement? What are my legal regulations which are applicable to me? What is the intellectual property we are going to protect? What is the environment we are working upon? Can you think you can have a governance program? Not at all. So that is why this should come first, and then only this should come. So right answer here is D. I hope I challenge you enough. Let me take you to the next question. What is the most critical factor to achieve the goal of security program? Fantastic question. A option says capability of security resources, then executive management support, effectiveness of security management, budget approval for security resources. So if you see in this particular question, budget will be part of support, right? Effectiveness of security management will only come when the top management will be having an oversight on security. So again, this is part of this. Capability of security resources, when you do all this, your leadership is much more focused. You bring in more capable resources, right? So if you want to ask me, the most critical factor is executive support, because that will only drive the other factors. And that's how you need to think for your exam. Let me go and give you another question as well. Now this question says, which of the following has the greatest impact on organization security posture? And it say international and country specific compliance requirement, security violation by employees and contractors, resource constraint due to increasing cost of supporting security, and audit finding related to employee access and permissions. Question is asking about the greatest impact on organizational security. Can you give it a thought? Will it be audit finding? This is part of the program, right? It will have some impact, but at a later point of time. I don't think that is what is being asked. Resource constraint due to increasing cost of supporting. Yes, costing is one factor, but that will not have the greatest impact. There is something more to it. Security violations by employees and contractors. This is part of your regular incident response way, part of operations. The first one, international and country specific compliance requirement, has a very, very big impact on your entire security posture, right? On your entire security program, because at no cost, you can afford to be non-compliant with this, right? And that is how the entire thing will be driven. So that is why A is the right option in this case. Whew, I think we covered a lot. So back to you, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you so much for covering such a good knowledge with all the CISSP aspirants over here today. And yes, team, hope you have enjoyed today's masterclass. And I have put up a quick survey form in the chat. So I would love you to just take out few minutes to fill that survey form, and your valuable survey participation in survey is welcomed here.
Yeah.
So,
ma'am, just one important announcement. I think for me as well.
Yeah.
Guys, who all are interested to go through this 100 days journey, we are going to start our new batch from 29th of September. So go ahead. The next batch is very, very nearby, and the costing is going to increase, because now we are coming in with CST version 3.0, and the costing will increase. So why don't you go and enroll into this entire program today, where you are going to get the entire Udemy, you can say, coupons included in your entire program. So don't have to pay anything if you enroll into the CST plan. And I think now Pratima ma'am is going to also share a instructor discount coupon, because you have been there until this time in the master class. So Pratima ma'am is going to share a you can say Udemy instructor discount coupons for you. So go ahead and enjoy that. Back to you, Pratima ma'am.
Yeah, sure. So I've just pinged in the chat the discount coupon, like whoever has attended our masterclass today, so they are going to get some instructor discount on our Udemy concept-based, domain series over there. So guys, go and avail your chance. And if you enroll in the entire CISSP Success Toolkit program, there you are going to get, these coupons absolutely free. You won't be paying us anything for these coupons. So what are you waiting for? And just join our next, batch, which is starting from 29th of September. For any query, reach out to me. I have put my, contact number in the chat box. And thank you so much for your patience, and thank you for joining this
I hope guys
masterclass.
you enjoyed this entire webinar, and stay tuned for the next week, because I am going to cover something even more interesting in the next week. I'm going to give you a
That's
tough
right.
time with practicing more questions in the masterclass. So feel free guys, and till then, Jai Hind. Thank you ma'am for having me. Thanks everyone.
Thank
Bye.
you. See you all. Bye.